The Children's Shakespeare by Edith Nesbit. Chapter 6. The Taming of the Shrew. There lived in Padua a gentleman named Baptista, who had two fair daughters. The eldest, Catherine, was so very cross and ill-tempered and unmannerly that no one ever dreamed of marrying her, while her sister Bianca was so sweet and pretty and pleasant-spoken that more than one suitor asked her father for her hand. But Baptista said the elder daughter must marry first. So Bianca's suitors decided among themselves to try and get someone to marry Catherine, and then the father could at least be got to listen to their suit for Bianca. A gentleman from Verona named Petruchio was the one they thought of, and, half in jest, they asked him if he would marry Catherine, the disagreeable scold. Much to their surprise he said yes. That was just the sort of wife for him, and if Catherine were handsome and rich, he himself would undertake soon to make her good-tempered. Petruchio began by asking Baptista's permission to pay court to his gentle daughter Catherine, and Baptista was obliged to own that she was anything but gentle. And just then her music-master rushed in, complaining that the naughty girl had broken her lute over his head, because he told her she was not playing correctly. "Never mind," said Petruchio. "I love her better than ever, and long to have some chat with her." When Catherine came, he said, "Good morrow, Kate, for that I hear is your name." "You've only heard half," said Catherine, rudely. "Oh, no," said Petruchio. "They call you plain Kate, and bonny Kate, and sometimes Kate the Shrew, and so, hearing your mildness praised in every town, and your beauty too, I ask you for my wife." "Your wife!" cried Kate. "Never!" She said some extremely disagreeable things to him, and, I am sorry to say, ended by boxing his ears. "If you do that again I'll cuff you," he said quietly, and still protested with many compliments that he would marry none but her. When Baptista came back he asked at once, "How speed you with my daughter?" "How should I speed but well?" replied Petruchio. "How but well?" "How now, daughter Catherine?" the father went on. "I don't think," said Catherine, angrily, "you are acting a father's part in wishing me to marry this madcap ruffian." "Ah," said Petruchio, "you and all the world would talk amiss of her. You should see how kind she is to me when we are alone. In short, I will go off to Venice to buy fine things for our wedding, for, kiss me, Kate, we will be married on Sunday." And with that Catherine flounced out of the room by one door in a violent temper, and he, laughing, went out by the other. But whether she fell in love with Petruchio, or whether she was only glad to meet a man who was not afraid of her, or whether she was flattered that in spite of her rough words and spiteful usage he still desired her for his wife, she did indeed marry him on Sunday, as he had sworn she should. To vex and humble Catherine's naughty, proud spirit, he was late at the wedding, and when he came wearing such shabby clothes that she was ashamed to be seen with him. His servant was dressed in the same shabby way, and the horses they rode were the sport of every one they passed. And, after the marriage, when should have been the wedding breakfast, Petruchio carried his wife away, not allowing her to eat or drink, saying that she was his now, and he could do as he liked with her. And his manner was so violent, and he behaved all through his wedding in so mad and dreadful a manner, that Catherine trembled and went with him. He mounted her on a stumbling, lean, old horse, and they journeyed by rough muddy ways to Petruchio's house, he scolding and snarling all the way. She was terribly tired when she reached her new home, but Petruchio was determined that she should neither eat nor sleep that night, for he had made up his mind to teach his bad-tempered wife a lesson she would never forget. So he welcomed her kindly into his house, but when supper was served, he found fault with everything. The meat was burnt, he said, and ill served, and he loved her far too much to let her eat anything but the best. At last Catherine, tired out with her journey, went supperless to bed. Then her husband, still telling her how he loved her, and how anxious he was that she should sleep well, pulled her bed to pieces, throwing pillows and bedclothes on the floor, so that she could not go to bed at all, and still kept growling and scolding at the servants so that Kate might see how unbeautiful a thing ill temper was. The next day, too, Catherine's food was all found fault with, and caught away before she could touch a mouthful. And she was sick and giddy for want of sleep. Then she said to one of the servants, I pray thee go and get me some repast, I care not what. What say you to a neat's foot? Said the servant. Catherine said yes eagerly, but the servant, who was in his master's secret, said he feared it was not good for hasty-tempered people. Would she like tripe? Bring it me, said Catherine. I don't think that is good enough for hasty-tempered people, said the servant. What do you say to a dish of beef and mustard? I love it, said Kate. But mustard is too hot. Why, then, the beef, and let the mustard go, cried Catherine, who was getting hungrier and hungrier. No, said the servant, you must have the mustard, or you get no beef from me. Then, cried Catherine, losing patience, let it be both or one, or anything thou wilt. Why then, said the servant, the mustard without the beef. Then Catherine saw he was making fun of her and boxed his ears. Just then Petruchio brought her some food, but she had scarcely begun to satisfy her hunger before he called for the tailor to bring her new clothes, and the table was cleared, leaving her still hungry. Catherine was pleased with the pretty new dress and cap that the tailor had made for her, but Petruchio found fault with everything, flung the cap and gown on the floor, vowing his dear wife should not wear any such foolish things. I will have them, cried Catherine. All gentlewomen wear caps as these. When you are gentle you shall have one too, he answered, and not till then. When he had driven away the tailor with angry words, but privately asking his friend to see him paid, Petruchio said, Come, Kate, let's go to your father's, shabby as we are, for as the sun breaks through the darkest clouds, so honor peereth in the meanest habit. It is about 7 o'clock now. We shall easily get there by dinner time. It's nearly 2, said Kate, but civilly enough, for she had grown to see that she could not bully her husband, as she had done her father and her sister. It's nearly 2, and it will be supper time before we get there. It shall be 7, said Petruchio obstinately, before I start. Why, whatever I say or do or think, you do nothing but contradict. I won't go today, and before I do go, it shall be what o'clock I say it is. At last they started for her father's house. Look at the moon, said he. It's the sun, said Catherine, and indeed it was. I say it is the moon, contradicting again. It shall be sun or moon or whatever I choose, or I won't take you to your father's. Then Catherine gave in, once and for all. What you will have it named, she said, it is, and so it shall be so for Catherine. And so it was, for from that moment Catherine felt that she had met her master, and never again showed her naughty tempers to him or any one else. So they journeyed on to Baptista's house, and arriving there, they found all folks keeping Bianca's wedding feast, and that of another newly arrived couple, Hortensio and his wife. They were made welcome, and sat down to the feast, and all was merry, save that Hortensio's wife, seeing Catherine subdued to her husband, thought she could safely say many disagreeable things, that in the old days, when Catherine was free and forward, she would not have dared to say. But Catherine answered with such spirit and such moderation, that she turned the laugh against the new bride. After dinner, when the ladies were retired, Baptista joined in a laugh against Petruchio, saying, Now in good sadness, son Petruchio, I fear you have got the veriest shrew of all. You are wrong, said Petruchio. Let me prove it to you. Each of us shall send a message to his wife, desiring her to come to him, and the one whose wife comes most readily shall win a wager which he will agree on. The others said yes, readily enough, for each thought his own wife the most dutiful, and each thought he was quite sure to win the wager. They proposed a wager of 20 crowns. 20 crowns, said Petruchio. I'll venture so much on my hawk or hound, but 20 times as much upon my wife. 100 then, cried Lucentio, Bianca's husband. Content, cried the others. Then Lucentio sent a message to the fair Bianca, bidding her to come to him, and Baptista said he was certain his daughter would come. But the servant, coming back, said, Sir, my mistress is busy, and she cannot come. There's an answer for you, said Petruchio. You may think yourself fortunate if your wife does not send you a worse. I hope better, Petruchio answered. Then Hortensio said, Go and entreat my wife to come to me at once. Oh, if you entreat her, said Petruchio. I am afraid, answered Hortensio sharply. Do what you can, yours will not be entreated. But now the servant came in and said, She says you are playing some jest, she will not come. Better and better, cried Petruchio. Now go to your mistress and say I command her to come to me. They all began to laugh, saying they knew what her answer would be, and that she would not come. Then suddenly Baptista cried, Here comes Catherine! And sure enough, there she was. What do you wish, sir? She asked her husband. Where are your sister and Hortensio's wife? Talking by the parlor fire. Fetch them here. When she was gone to fetch them, Lucentio said, Here is a wonder. I wonder what it means, said Hortensio. It means peace, said Petruchio, and love and quiet life. Well, said Baptista, you have won the wager, and I will add another 20,000 crowns to her dowry, another dowry for another daughter, for she is as changed as if she were some one else. So Petruchio won his wager, and had in Catherine always a loving wife and a true, and now he had broken her proud and angry spirit, he loved her well, and there was nothing ever but love between those two. And so they lived happily ever afterwards. End of chapter 6.